Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. I guess is more appropriate. This is our Black Love Dialogue pop-up. I am your host today, Montoya Smith. I have a wonderful guest in here, Taylor Chandler. Thank you, Queen. As I always like to say, thank you for being with us. As I told you, I've been following your work for years, and I know I am Taylor Chandler. I think is what you go by on IG. That's how I follow you. I know that you are a family and marriage therapist. But anything else you want to add to your background, please take the time because we got 30 short minutes with you. So we're gonna get into it as quick as
Yeah,
possible.
I love to just dive in. So yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also a personal development coach, and I have a background, spent 10 years in the fitness industry as a personal trainer, a large group trainer, a health coach, fitness nutrition specialist. So did all of that. Fitness is still a really big part of my life. So I really consider my work to have four big pillars: marriage, family, health, and wellness. So that's what I do
Okay.
all day.
Oh, you do it very well, I must say.
Thank
Again, I've been
you.
following you on IG specifically. I just graduated to your YouTube page, so I'm glad to have
Oh
found
yeah.
that. And so we'll definitely let everybody know how to follow you before we get off this broadcast. But what we do with the Black Love Dialogue, as I was kind of mentioning to you, right before the show, we actually have a private podcast. And really what it is a private Zoom where I bring like award-winning relationship coaches, therapists, all who are married. Or one of ours has been married 35 years to his high school sweetheart. So we're doing these deep dives on this concept of long-term pairing or in marriage. That is definitely the focus. And so since I watch you do this all the time, I was like, thank you for accepting my invitation. And so what I love to do when I bring a guest on for the first time is make them react to clips of themselves. So what we basically do on that Zoom is we play various clips around this subject matter and our experts dialogue about it. And then after we do the clips, we'll go into the inner working of relationship, which is a book that kind of gives people guidance on their trauma while trying to pair bond. So we'll kind of go into an academic setting. And then the last part of it is just questions to our hosts. So that's kind of what we do on the private podcast. This right here is just a promotion for that private podcast. And you're actually our first guest that's outside of our regular host to be a part of our pop-up. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. My extras, they're great. But I'm like, if I can get Taylor, I'm going to get her on this thing.
Well, I really appreciate that. I love being brought into the fold. That's exciting.
Nah, good stuff. So we'll do what we do. We'll just play a clip and we'll react to it. And again, that's how I always do it. No preparation. You just do it live on the spot.
Okay.
Reaction to the clip. So this is the first one that I'll play here.
Black people were not taught the same dating scripts or socialized to date the same way that white people are. From a young age, white people teach their children how to build successful relationships with the opposite sex. They allow their teenagers to have boyfriends because they see dating as a way to build a social skill. They are taught formal dating etiquette.
Y'all, I think she's right. Like, I went to Virginia Tech and it was very white. And the way white kids were dating was distinctly different than how I could compare it to like Atlanta, which is where I moved to after I graduated from Tech. Like, white kids were intentionally preparing to find a husband and a wife in general. I think it was helpful to see and do that in practice with people my age at such a wide scale. But when I was thinking about Virginia Tech, it also made me think about country music because I listen to a lot of country music at Tech. And I'm thinking about how in country music, it's like you're talking about love, relationships, hard work, marriage, family. And then I think about rap and hip hop. And it's like we're talking about drugs, sex, and murder, things like that. You know, there are so many different social and cultural aspects that help to develop a person. Like, it's not just one or two things, but here's the point. When enough people are affected in a certain direction, you develop community norms, which are basically like the standard way that the group behaves. They become generalities. They're the reasonable expectations of that group based on evidence of what that group generally does. Like, everything is not a stereotype. Some of it is like evidence. There's evidence that a certain group does certain things in general. For the Black community, I believe we have way too many negative norms. And quite frankly, it's embarrassing and shameful, especially considering what so many of our grandparents, great grandparents, and those before them endured for a better life and freedom. I think we have a current culture, because I don't think this is Black culture. We have a current culture of degeneracy. All right, a deterioration specifically around our morals. And some people seem determined to go down with the ship or protect and defend that. And we cannot save these people because literally they do not want to be saved. But others, I think we should keep speaking up. I think we should protect what's important. And although we may sound like the minority, I do believe it's better to enter through the narrow gate than to go down the broad road leading to destruction.
I mean, hey.
So I probably shouldn't ask, do you agree with that? And that's not my question. I just thought that was funny. You know what I mean? Like, of course you agree with it, right?
Yeah.
But again, for anybody, because a lot of people are just now tuning in, from what I can tell, because we just pop up. We didn't do a lot of promotions for this show. But for anybody that's just tuning in, I do want to highlight, this is our pop-up for our private podcast, which is the Black Love Dialogue and Wine, a private podcast experience. It is for those who are serious about love, marriage, and legacy. So now that I give that context, now, Taylor, you can understand why I wanted to, one, have you on, and I wanted to start with that actual clip, because I promoted, with a little bit of promotions I did have, it just simply said how we're ending up in situationships. At the end of the day, a lot of people are ideally still looking for marriage, but as you pointed out in that clip, the way that we're dating, especially college students, is very, very different by culture. And I'll agree with you. I'll say this and let you jump in. Like, I went to the Air Force Academy, and the Air Force Academy has this amazing chapel that that is known for. People go visit this chapel. Well, a big thing that is also known for is when people graduate, they immediately go get married in this beautiful, pristine chapel. That's like something that is known for. But you're right. We were 6% Black. Our culture was like, we thought it was silly to see somebody getting married right after graduation. We're like, we just now getting out in the world. That was our approach. Not all, but a lot of us as African Americans, we hadn't, as we say in the country, we hadn't bit more thought about getting married that early. So it was definitely a different culture, similar to what you talked about at Virginia Tech. Go ahead, Queen.
So, I got a lot of feedback on this one, similar to this gentleman in the comments. Like, I'm not surprised at all about that, and to be fair, I will acknowledge that country music isn't like totally clean, right? Like, there are definitely some themes. I don't think it's genuine to say it's the same themes, equally, like emphasized in definitely mainstream country versus mainstream like rap and hip hop. I think that's just being sincere. So I want to address that, because I didn't say that blatantly in the reel. So I just want to say that for the record, like, I get it. And also, I still stand on what I said. I think that's just.
Can I back you up real quick and then let you finish your? So let me back you up, because here's something when it comes to these dialogues that we say are so important. So, and I know this is something you agree with, but I always like to point this out. We have to understand that when we're having important dialogues, generalizations is how humans speak. You were generalizing.
Yeah.
But that's something that in today's world, where it's your truth versus the truth, people love to shoot to the exception to negate what you said when you were only generalizing. So let me make this real clear. When you're generalizing, as Taylor was doing, she understands that all country music ain't great. But generally speaking, she's just saying what they generally talk about. So I do want to back you up, since you wanted to make that point.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, because people, I do dialogues where I explain the generalization conversation off top, because I don't want to be arguing over exceptions all night, because now we can't get into that.
That's a good disclaimer to start with: the generalizations, the alls, not all people, the blanket statements, all of that. And still, I think I put a lot of like mini disclaimers in the reel, and still, people are going to do what they're going to do with information. Point being, I think, the main point that we're talking about is it's culture. It's a culture. I do think we have a cultural issue in the Black community right now. I don't think that means that it is what Black is. I do think, though, that what we're seeing right now in present time, in present culture, we're seeing indications of decline, like moral decline. So I really think, as I'm listening to it again, I'm like, that it seems like really apparent when we're just looking and seeing what our outcomes are. This is beyond just like someone's personal experience and what an individual sees outside of their door. We're talking about like what's showing up like in data, like what's showing up, what's going on with children, what's going on with households, what's going on with economics, what's going on with like it's showing up in every area is indicating that we have a major problem. And I think we have to look at the behaviors that are contributing to the problems that we're seeing.
Yeah, let me ask you specifically about when you were highlighting being at Virginia Tech and how it was different. So if you could just kind of, build on that, because again, that's what I was in agreement with too. At my college, definitely a difference. And of course, all the white people didn't get married, right? But I'm just saying, generally speaking, it was some black marriages in that same chapel too. So again, I'm not saying no black. Again, we're generalizing, but generally speaking, it was the last thing on our mind. Whereas a lot of, like you said, white people looked at that period very different. So if you could just kind of expound on that for yourself personally at Virginia Tech.
Yeah. So what I noticed is parents were a lot more involved in the process. Like parents are asking questions. They're essentially coaching the kid from the sidelines. They're checking in on who they're dating, what's going on, and they're essentially setting it up. It's not as extreme as like an arranged marriage, which at this point, I don't think the Black community would. I think the Black community might need some arranged marriages and have some things intentionally set up. But it's almost like a fantastical idea. But honestly, like I'm serious. I think it's not a bad idea at this point to get sort of pragmatic about relationships in the Black community, especially. I think. So as far as like what was going on at Tech, there was parents a lot more involved, more out loud, more explicit about what is supposed to happen in the dating process. So I think that was a huge difference. There's a cliche, is that the right word? A cliche like saying, the ring by spring, which is a real thing. And like you said, this isn't every single white person. Everyone's not there to get their MRS degree. And though it's like we're talking about generalities and norms, it's enough people to create a sense of like a norm of behavior that's happening with white kids, white students. That's definitely not happening for the broad range of Black students, regardless of what school that they're at. And so the ring by spring idea is that the couple has essentially like set themselves up that by like around spring of like either junior year or senior year, like obviously senior year is the last year that you have there. So I mean, I definitely saw people in junior year getting engaged, and then like right after graduation, getting married. I mean, it was just like a very fluid process for enough students to notice.
Absolutely. Well, I've seen particular people before social media got as big as it, because again, I've been doing radio before I wasn't even called podcasting when I started doing this, right? I'm talking about on Blog Talk. So that wasn't even the term. But for years, when I started watching others on videos and before YouTube was the biggest thing, they were saying culturally that is an expectation. Go get your degree and your MRS. Again, like that was encouraged for white girls in general. And again, we're both talking about seeing it playing out in actuality, because here's again a cultural thing. And people may look at, when you say the Black community, or may think we're being negative, we're talking about the things that are necessary to move us forward by having more pair bonding and more marriages that can be successful. And one of the advantages has been, here's our messaging as a culture. We didn't even got to use rap music for this, but our message is, I always talk about culturally, my mother, in a sense, first generation. We're really the generation that could go to college en masse, right? My mother's generation, some of them got to, but it was kind of expected. We're kind of the first generation when you get out of civil rights and all that kind of stuff. I'm 52 years old, to give people context out there. So people around my age, we're kind of the first generation where it could somewhat just really be an expectation, right? But I say all that to lean into this. So due to that, and basically women in particular having opportunities they never had before, but what what was said in our community was go to school, get a good education, get a good job. Well, for our generation, for women, it was like the first time, like, you're in college, go do your thing, get your career first. That's what we're leading with, not with, as you said, other cultures, or while you're there, find your significant other. Even, and here it is, it's also from the mindset of, even if they're not lining up to get married right out of college, they're still expecting to find their person that they circle back around, whether it's 3, 4, 5 years later after college. Quite often you'll find out, hey, when did y'all meet? Oh, we met in college. Because here's from a practical standpoint, for women who are fortunate enough, in a sense, to go to college, and men who are fortunate enough to go to college, it is the last time you will have the amount of people, the amount of people that you will have around you that are similar to you. At the end of the day, we typically want to marry people who are similar to us in ways. So once you get out into the workforce, you will never be surrounded by a number of women who are on your level, even in the workforce. You can go into a high-end job. If you go into a high-end job, you will be in the management. That is not the same amount of women that'll be around you when you were in college, vice versa for women. So it's also the last opportunity to be around a mass of men or women on your same level or circle. That's another practical aspect to doing it while in college versus getting out in the workforce and trying to, like, do I go to bars? Do I go to lounges? Do I go to a book club? Like, you're just trying to find it once you're out in the world and then got your career. So that's something that we do encourage. It has nothing to do with rap music, but it's not helping us pair bond long term.
Right, for sure.
So yeah, any thoughts on that?
No, I think you said it. I think you kind of. I think you really thoroughly.
Let's go to another clip.
Yeah, let's go to another.
Absolutely. One. Yeah. So anybody that's watching, we're just kind of dialoguing about what I'm saying is how our community, generally speaking, ends up in situationships. But we actually want long-term pair bonding. But there are things, as you said, I agree with you, that we're doing culturally that maybe we're not thinking about, that's not actually helping us in the long run. Sure. So here's a clip actually for myself. So I'll use myself for once. Then I got one more for you, and we'll get you out of here.
Black people were not taught the same dating script.
At the end of the day, how many of us have fallen in love with the concept of love, or that he or she is so incredible, and that's been, in a sense, the start, and people went all the way to the altar just based on that, not understanding marriage and what its purpose really is. We are the first generation to be raised with movies, so we've confused and placed love before legacy, and we have it backwards. It's legacy before love. Marriage is about commitment to family and children. All I ask is that you think. So
our mics are muted. Yeah.
So that's just a quick hit for our tagline for the podcast, is legacy before love. So that was just me highlighting that. And a lot of times when I share that with people hear it as a hierarchy, when I'm really just speaking of an order. Legacy before love. But as the first generations that's raised with movies and romance novels, we've actually confused those two things. And it, in my opinion, is also hurting us. Your thoughts, Queen?
Yeah, I mean, this is really, I'm seeing that this has become a gendered issue. Okay. Meaning, like, there are way more men that are going to agree with legacy before love, and way more women that are going to agree with love before legacy. So it's become a gendered issue, and it's become a major disconnect when people are talking about their values, priorities, whatever, their vision for marriage. I mean, I'm seeing more and more now the conversation around emotional intelligence and emotional maturity is popping back up. This isn't the first time it's come around, but it's almost like I'm noticing it's making this reemergence. It's coming up again.
That's good. That's a good thing right there. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
It is. It really is. But women are being more vocal and specific. We still need to get more specific. I think the conversation needs to get more specific and nuanced around what that means, because it's sort of like any other pop psychology word that starts to lose its meaning as people start overusing it.
Yes.
But there is this general sense that women are having in relationship, let's say unsatisfying relationships. The general sense is that the reason why it's unsatisfying or unfulfilling or it's not moving forward or I don't want to stay is because the emotional experience I'm having in the relationship is not meeting the standard.
It's lacking.
And so the legacy before love thing, it's like you can make a good argument for it. It is not piercing women in general.
Right.
Yeah, general word. We gotta say in general, not every, because some women be right on it.
Yeah, I'm down for the legacy. Yeah, I know, right? Like, they was on there talking down. Yeah, I know, right?
The argument for legacy before love, no matter how reasonable it could be, is not moving women to adopt that order.
Right.
So I think that this is an interesting, you could call it maybe a dilemma that is popping up right now that we need to reconcile. We need to reconcile this, because they both can exist together, right? Legacy and love, they both can exist together. But when one is emphasized more than the other to the point where it seems like you're dismissing the other, it's creating a major disconnect.
Absolutely. If I could, let me jump in on that real quick, because again, that's why I lead with it's not a hierarchy, because I understand that people, especially when you put one before the other, there is an assumption that you're being dismissive of the love, right? And that's why the dialogue can be difficult. I can say it to people in blue till I'm blue in the face. It's not a hierarchy. It's just foundation, and it's the aim that gets you through, right? But let me give a little history to why we're seeing what we're seeing. So what happens is, like, marriage for so many years for humankind was clearly legacy. Love was a little small part of it. I'm just for so many years of the history of marriage, right? Marriage has been on record for about 2,500 years on record. Maybe, looks like it may have existed before it was on record, some, or whatever little history can look up. But for the majority of that history, it really was strictly about legacy. I mean, like, we'll just call it for what it is, right? So this concept of modern love is somewhat new. And like you said, men can lean into it. They understand it. Well, the reason the disconnect for the ladies, to be fair, is it's the diamond industry and the marketing that started in the 1930s. And then books were already coming along. You know what I mean? When you think about, like, for example, just even go all the way back to Shakespeare, hardly anybody could read, right? So those that could read could start exploring with the concept of, I want to be loved. And he started writing stories about, people that were supposed to be married, and they run off and have a little thing and get and marry for love. Like, those were in books, but the majority of the world couldn't even read. But when we get to the 1930s, the diamond industry kind of starts pushing the diamond ring as a part of marriage, and the movie industry comes along at the same time. So we become entertained with a concept because of the passion of it. It becomes pushed more through marketing. And not saying there's anything wrong with it, but for those who are trying to make money, you're just doing it to make the money. They don't care if you're in love or not. That's the diamond industry or the movies. But mass entertainment becomes a thing. So yeah, you start reading about happily ever after now in kindergarten, in first grade. That's where the disconnect is coming from. You're moved by the emotion, and there's this whole industry around marriage, the diamonds and what a marriage should be, and it's all for you. I get why it is that disconnect is there. That's the reason for it. So I think just addressing that history can help some people at least understand it. If I could again be clear, there is no hierarchy. It's not saying legacy is above love. It's not saying love is not needed, because you're absolutely right. With the emotional intelligence is a requirement. It is a requirement because of how society is advanced. I'm gonna play this one last clip so I can make sure we react to it for your last 5 minutes.
No, but I have to say this. Oh
yeah, please do. Okay, please. I just want to make sure I take your time. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're I am willing to bet that argument is not going to work with women. It's not going to work.
I agree. Yeah, I'm not saying it is.
So I think I think to be realistic about how we're gonna really make that start to reconcile together,
Okay.
Like these, like in total. Okay, we can lay it all out: the marketing, the capitalism, and all of that. De Beers, the diamond industry, all of it.
Right.
And it's not going to move women off of this love square.
I'm not saying it does. Because here, let me say this real quick. I'll let you finish. I wasn't saying that it would, because I'm like, what I'm saying is still up against all the marketing. I understand propaganda and marketing. So I'm not naive to think that me laying out this, right, is going to beat the marketing. However, for those who are serious about love, marriage, and legacy, we are going to at least give them the foundation. If they're seeking it, we're going to highlight that some of this was pushed out there for them to just at least be aware. We have a lot more to talk about to get it to beat that marketing. But yeah, me just saying that does nothing against that marketing. So I am very clear about that. But go ahead, Queen.
I'm going to be real with you.
Okay.
It's going to sound, it sounds dismissive, and women are not responsive
Fair
to
enough.
that. I'm so real. Like it's like to chop it up to, and I hope you understand. Like I totally understand what you're saying, and I'm
hearing you clearly. I'm listening. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a really good translator between men and women, and I kind of know how things gonna hit. All right, and realistically, like it like chopping up to marketing, it's like that it can be a valid argument, but it honestly can come off as dismissive, like, okay, well, you were just influenced by the system. And I think that again, like this, it's a ongoing conversation on how to make space for the reality that so many women are feeling, that no, it's what if it's not the system, it's not influence, it's what I really want. And what happens when for her it boils down to that. And it can't be like kind of siphoned off to the commercials. Like, so I want to highlight that, because the more on my platform right now, where I'm shifting to is being more realistic about, like, okay, what, like the arguments. I love making a good argument. I love breaking down an argument. I love making a good argument. I think it's fun. I'm always going to be doing a little bit of that. And there's this like realistic, sweet middle spot where it's like, okay, like where can we concede? Where can we give? Where can we make space for the thing that the black and white argument says that shouldn't count, or we shouldn't pay too much attention to that. And yet we're going to use our emotional intelligence to say, but you care about it. And how do we still make space for it? So I actually wanted to say that, because I'm just
here it is. What you're saying is absolutely my aim. I'm actually, I was just giving the context. I wasn't making an argument. So I do want to, I just, because again, I just want to share it just for awareness. Yes. I'm not even that, I wouldn't dare think that's enough of an argument.
I got you.
I did not mean it like that. I did not mean it like that. I was not doing that. I just wanted to give the context for those who are watching to get us a perspective, saying, look, we're going this deep with these conversations. Yeah. It's just showing off the type of dialogue we do. I was not there offering it as an argument, and the reason it is because of what you're saying. You can't put the milk back in the carton. If you think about what you and I are talking about right now, I wasn't making an argument, but had I been, it would have been me unaware of the fact that, as you said, this is what women want right now. You have to get a sweet spot where you acknowledge, and we talk about this all the time. We tell the men in our circle, emotional intelligence is a requirement because of the era we're in. We're not in the era I just spoke about. So I wouldn't dare offer that era as something we could use for today. We got to find the sweet spot. I know you only got another minute, but I wanted to play the clip because I thought it was perfect for what we were talking about. So if I could steal 5 more minutes, maybe.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Because this clip goes where you were going. That's why I want to do what you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely.
Black people were not taught the same dating scripts or socialized.
No, I'm sorry. Did I say? Give me 1 second.
Okay, sure.
I saved the same clip twice by accident. Give me 1 second. Oh man, let me pull it up. So it's from your page. I just saved yours, the same one twice. Give me few seconds to pull it up to the everybody out there watching. Just bear with me. I'm finna pull this clip from her page real quick so that y'all can. We got to talk about it. It was just to give you a heads up. It was the one where you were talking about the emotional intelligence that men need based on how women are today. And I was very necessary because that's the next stage where what you're talking about. That's the absolute next stage that we as men have to understand the reality of where we're at today. And I agree wholeheartedly with you. And so I definitely want to get this clip. I just got to pull it real quick. I think I can do it quickly. Let me get to your page. I didn't realize I saved the exact same one by accident. All right, I might just do I don't know. I don't know if I can do a share screen. Actually, I didn't realize I was muted. I was telling y'all, we got one more minute, y'all. We're almost there. It's loading right now. This is a very important clip that you played on your page. So I don't want everybody to hear it and at least get one response from you. But it's going exactly where you're going. It's like we got to find that sweet spot. We have to. All right. Come on. Load. Yeah, it should be up in a minute. Yep. All right. If it don't load, I'm going to go ahead and close her out. All right. Looks like it's taking too long to load. I just got it.
What
okay.
It is. Okay.
A lot of men, especially the ones who feel like they are the prize, want ease. They want admiration without accountability. They want to be coddled, affirmed, mothered. They want a woman who adjusts to them, not one who requires them to grow. And when you are used to being scarce, you start behaving like you are irreplaceable. Not the time to say, not me, not me, not me. We are going to focus on what she's pointing to, okay, showing up in men. I know this kind of thing can really flare some people up because it makes it seem like, because you start hearing it as like, that's what she's saying, it's all men, or she's making these blanket statements and she's using kind of language. We're not even gonna break that down, y'all. We're not gonna break that down. We could do it. That's not the point though. Remember, we have to stay focused. Trust me, for those of you who think that I'm reminding y'all too much, I know that I'm not. I know that people need to keep hearing and being brought back. Hear me, just trust me here. People need to be brought back to center regularly in these kinds of conversations. Men in demand, and even men who aren't in demand at this point, are holding the line. Fine, are holding the line, like holding a line of standards, holding a line of what it is that you want and need, without realizing where they need to continue to reflect and grow. There are some men who actually think that women will get so afraid of being alone that they'll adjust. That they're relying on the motivation of fear for that adjustment to happen. From what it looks like to me, the problem she's pointing to is not that the standard is bad. It's not that the standard is wrong. It's not the standards are too high. What she's saying is like you're holding a line and seeing yourself as so great that you don't have to continue to reflect and see where I still need to be greater, what still needs to be worked on. Here's my commentary on this. Women don't respect or submit to that posture, especially a woman with some like actual like confidence and self-esteem. I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm talking about a woman who actually does like know who she is, a woman who has some confidence about herself. So women don't respect or submit to that posture of a man who is holding a high standard but behaves in an arrogant way, okay, or as if he cannot be checked, or as if he is so in demand that he doesn't have to behave with like good character. Right? A more developed, mature woman with some level of self-awareness and confidence can see that you're doing well, but will not submit to the posture of arrogance, self-righteousness, or manipulative control that's playing off of her fears of being a woman, her fears of being alone, or her fear of aging. She's not going for it. Okay. She can acknowledge that, yes, she would rather be partnered. Yes, she is getting older by the day. And still, she will not submit to someone who has a pretentious posture of, I don't have to, but you do. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to adjust, but you do.
You're muted. Yeah, it's auto muting.
Normally it takes me right off the mute, so I got to get used to that. Normally it knocks me right off of it. But I was just saying, like, we were talking, I was kind of giving the context of the history, but this is where the conversation has to move to in current times. So if the beginning of this conversation made sense to anybody watching, saying, hey, culturally, maybe we need to look at that period, that young period in our 20s, a little different, not just go for career, that's men and women included, to the extent that we're waiting later to try to pair bond. That's how we started this conversation. Then we got into the concept of legacy before love. The foundation is still correct, but like you said, Taylor, can't make an argument for it and leave it there. Because the part that has to be included, legacy before love is still the proper foundation. It is the aim that will get you through the hard times. If you lean into the love too much, there's aspect of it that's too fleeting and you will always be gone. But if you have the aim of legacy, you will get to the better times because of the legacy. So it is still the correct foundation, but the bigger point now in current times is the things that you just talked about. Because as you said, we as men hold that line, but we're holding the line without the understanding that you just spoke of in that clip. Go ahead and speak on it, Queen.
Yeah, so the conversation is evolving. And this is like this is the very early stages. This is very early. And so we got to buckle up because it's supposed to be a bumpy ride. There's going to be people that want to hang on, right, that want to hang on and want what's and don't want, let's say, the new requirements. And we've got new requirements with men and women. We've got new requirements. It's almost like AI. It's here, and everybody has to adjust. And it's just a matter of how fast are you going to do it? How thoroughly are you going to do it? To what depth are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? So it's here. Like AI, this relationship comfort, the relationship it's evolved. It's here right now. And so it's just a matter of how someone is going to relate to that. So we've definitely got people kicking and screaming about like what is required now, and there's all of that. And then we have people that are way on the front end of it, which is more of where we're landing in this conversation, where it's like we are early in the like the movement of how this is going to evolve, and it's happening. So the faster we can sort of adapt, the better that we're going to be. I think there's fear on both sides around like, okay, if I adapt to you, are you going to adapt to me? And that's why we have to have this ongoing, almost like a regulating
dialogue.
Yeah,
Ongoing dialogue. Absolutely. Yeah, like I feel like you're doing it on your page. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Queen.
Yeah, so we're able to articulate what's going on, so that there's not this apprehension and this fear. It's like we have to set the stage for what we're about to move into.
And that's the idea. That's what the private podcast is, right? Because I've done all my podcasts public, but I took this one private because, again, it's for those who are serious. So we're still kind of looking for those who are serious to have the proper dialogue, so you can be apprehensive and it not be a got you moment, because that's what people are doing on the public podcast, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we went private with it. One last question, because I know I'm cutting into your time. But there was another clip. I actually was trying to play this clip. I'm glad I played the one I did. But you were talking about another one where the reflective work, that's the part that's the emotional intelligence for us as men. That's the part that's so new for us. So what does that look like for you as a professional? What does that look like when people say as men, I hear the term reflective work? If we're so apprehensive about it and we want to kind of maintain the line like you just talked about in your video, then I still don't know what that is. So describe that from your perspective as a therapist, so a man can even hear, what does a reflective work mean?
In short, when we describe any problem in our lives, we are giving the opportunity to see what we think about how that problem even came to be, and what we think about what is needed to solve that problem. When we are deflecting responsibility to something or someone else other than ourselves, it is most likely that we have not done the reflective work to see how it is that I've contributed to the problem at hand, and it's usually both, what I can do to resolve the problem at hand. So the reflective work is essentially seeing, how am I in the way? How do I completely take responsibility for where I am and where I want to go. So that's what reflective work. That's what reflective work is in short. It's what parts of me have to do with the problem or the unfavorable outcome that I, or to say state that I'm currently in, and what do I need to do to change in order to get a different outcome.
Yeah, and that's super difficult based on, for the most part, I have a book called Re-Education of the Negro, and I got one where we ask this question, how have men changed over the last 50 years versus how women have changed over the last 50 years? For the most part, as men, generally speaking, have not. So since we have not, even though, again, we can give the definition of reflective work, we hate how it looks and feels because it seems so different from tradition. But I will tell anybody watching it and let her get back to her time that it is the necessary work in the new age. While I big up legacy before love, it is still the foundation. If you do not add in this reflective work, Taylor had another cut that I plan to play talking about how sisters are not going to put up with certain things, and it's actually right. You cannot, as you said, say, hey, I'm the prize, which is the silliest comment ever to me as a man. Think that you are the prize, and I think that sets you up to receive what you want. No, they're not going for it, you know? And so that's it. So if you will, Queen, let them know how they can follow you. Thank you for the extra 10 minutes, my bad, on the technical stuff.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I appreciate you being mindful of the time. My name on Instagram and really everywhere is I am Taylor Chandler. My Instagram, my TikTok, I am Taylor Chandler. My website, IamTaylorChandler.com. You can type it I am Taylor Chandler on YouTube. You'll find me there. I have a podcast called Boundaries and Grace that has about like 130 episodes now. It's on Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music. So basically wherever you listen to your iPod or listen to your podcast, that's where you can find me. There's a lot of good content on there that's not on YouTube because I started it like 6 years ago now. So that's where you can find me. I am Taylor Chandler. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. I'm gonna end it with our promotion for our Black Love Dialogue podcast, which is every fourth Sunday, 8 p.m. It is a private podcast, so you do have to DM me. We do charge for it. Of course, Taylor, you're being invited for free if you're there, because I want you to, we need your, basically, we're trying to find people who are serious. We're not playing with this. Again, all of our therapists and relationship coaches are married for years. So I'm gonna end with this promotion, and thank you for your time, Queen. And you were wonderful, by the way. Let me say that as well.
Thank you so much.
What if the real problem with modern dating isn't a lack of love, but a loss of order? Welcome to Black Love Dialogue and Wine, a private podcast experience for those serious about love, marriage, and legacy. This isn't surface level romance. These are intentional conversations reclaiming the strongest love ever known, Black love. In today's dating culture, we've normalized trauma bonding and calling it commitment. We've romanticized love while forgetting marriage was built for legacy before feelings. At Black Love Dialogue, we restore balance, honoring love and structure, emotion and purpose. If you're seeking love, strengthening it, or preparing for marriage, this private experience gives you the mindset and resources to build lasting pair bonds. This private Zoom takes place 8 p.m. Eastern, last Sundays of the month. So get your tickets on eventbrite.com and bring your flash so we can toast and deep dive into legacy before love, featuring therapists Makaya Dominguez, Marilyn Odwini, mental health advocate Chris James, and award-winning relationship coaches Fala Antoine, Derek Cecile Clark, and Vaughn the Love Alchemist with over 35 years of marriage. All right, y'all. We out of here. Thank you for your time, Queen.
Bye. Night, y'all. Thanks so much.
I appreciate you. Can I DM you? I'm sorry. Yeah, cool.